Bim, guess what? We're live. It's just gone 8:05 on a Saturday night. It's the 29th of April 2023, and it is what a week that was. And what a week it's been. Sadly, it's not been a great week if you're a celebrity, particularly aged celebrity. But anyway, let's not worry about that just yet because we've got other stuff going on. None of it. It's not been a good week for news, it has to be said. It's been one of them weeks where you just kind of go all the time. So, there's a war breaking out. Oh, hi Smiley Mike. There's a hi Fly Scotsman. There is a war breaking out in Sudan, and there are lots of British citizens there as well as diplomats. And the UK was found or accused of choosing diplomats over citizens to evacuate to a safe area, and I can understand why they weren't evacuated straight away, because they are all over Sudan. They are not all in one place, whereas diplomats are all in one place, so it's easy to move them. But we will find out. I'm doing okay, Smiley Mac, thank you very much. Meanwhile, Diane Abbott, everyone's favourite, I can't say with a straight face, everyone's favourite Labour MP is no longer a Labour MP after writing a letter saying that Jews and travellers and whites do not suffer racism all their lives, or do not go through all their lives subject to racism. Bearing in mind, she was the deputy leader, if I remember rightly, of the Labour Party when the anti-Semitism against the Jews was rife. Talk about stupidity. Anyway, they've done the right thing and they've kicked her out of the party, so hopefully soon it will be well, she'll be out of Parliament. That would be good. She's one of those characters that whenever she appears on telly, you know she's going to say something stupid. Sunday also saw the emergency alert test. It was the 3 o'clock exactly, give or take a minute or two, on all mobile phones in the country, smart mobile phones, give or take a few 100,000. It was an interesting thing. There was a video I shot where I may have tinily overreacted, which is in my Wigan Watch, and there's also, or was it in the vlog? One or the other anyway. And there's also a bit that Luke shot as well, looking down from the top where the escalators are in the Grand Arcade to all the carnage and confusion that it didn't cause. I mean, literally, it was like the most non-event event ever. In fact, I just turned the alarm off. I didn't read it. This is the first time I've actually read what it said. Anyway, this brings us to Monday. And what happened on Monday? Well, we had an American newscaster being fired. Fox News and Tucker Johnson part ways, allegedly. Basically, he was fired. He was an outspoken, a bit like Piers Morgan. But anyway, they got rid of him. They don't like him anymore, so he's gone. CBI, more companies are leaving the CBI, and its very existence now is in doubt following the various accusations that are being raised against it as a company. Also, news was revealed of something that is actually simple but brilliant at the same time. What they're doing is they're calling it re-wiggling rivers. So basically, hundreds of years ago, farmers, in order to make it easier to farm, straightened out rivers and things. The problem with that was the river flows quicker. So when it rains a lot, the water gets in the river, and because there's no bends or anything, it goes in a straight line. Just think of a Formula 1 car. It goes dead fast on the straights, but when it gets to the wiggly bits, it has to slow down quite a lot. Also, when it's going slower, it drops sediment, and it also increases wildlife as well. So what they've started doing now, in certain areas, is re-wiggling the rivers. Basically meandering, something I learnt when I was at school and never really forgot. And that's when a river, because it's very level, the land that it's on, it doesn't have to be sea level, it can be high up, as long as the land is level. The river kind of meanders away, which is where, you know, look at them meandering behind us, because you're not walking in a straight line, it's just kind of going like that, nice and calmly. And it should reduce further downstream risk of flooding and things like that. They've also done a bit where they've got some of the wild beavers and put them back into the areas so that they'll make dams and things like that, which again will slow down. And they've also done areas where it makes old fields into marshes, which again holds water. So it does seem like a good idea, and it's all natural as well, and it's better for the environment. Hi Rongan, long time no see. Hi Sean Gallagher. People have popped in. Whoa. Jews wish that was true. Luckily I was out when that happened. So that'd be the thingamabob. I was missed out on Sunday. Good evening. Hey Rongan and Sean. Hey, how's your weekend so far? Okay, just general chit chat at the moment. And then we've had a lot of celebrities passing in the last couple of weeks. And the big question is how many? 7! Not quite Len, but Len is sadly one of them. He passed away at the age of 78. And he was still working up to quite recently on the American version of Strictly Come Dancing. I never really watched it, but I was aware of his sayings, and you know, whenever we count, we get up to 7, we always go 7. And we also say if it's 10, it's a 10 from Len. But yep, sadly he's passed away at 78 after a short illness. Right, whoop, wrong thing there. I don't want you to. I don't want to make myself any bigger. That would be ridiculous. What are you doing that for? Tuesday come along, which is what number of day of the week is that? 7? No, Len. No. It's number 2. Technically number 3 the way I do it. And finally, some of the citizens are being evacuated from Sudan by... Where do all these weird aeroplanes come from that you've never heard of? Smartwings.com. Who's heard of them? And when they were on about sending people to Rwanda, there was this plane that just turned up. And you're like, whose is that? There just must be a warehouse full of planes with random paint marks on them. Anyway, there's been 3 flights since the Sunday from Sudan with over 200 people evacuated. It was an ongoing mission. More of that later. Meanwhile, get ready. Are you ready? Shut up, Harry. Harry says publishers of The Sun and the News of the World paid a settlement with Prince William to stop him taking them to court as well. There's no proof of any of this, so we'll just take it as read that it's probably not true. Biden announces he will run for the election in 2024 for President of the United States of there America. And he's also said that he doesn't think he's too old for it, even though everyone thinks he's too old now, and he will be 81 then. So assuming he lasts that long. But anyway, we will see. It's a discount airline they don't use unless they need to. And there we go. Shut up, Harry. Thank you. The Rust Belt, though, Biden's announced, will become full of car battery making plants, because he thinks that's the future. It's not. It's not. Car batteries are not the future. How many times do people have to say this? Car batteries are bad for the environment. You have to dig up the metals, you have to put chemicals with them, you have to wrap them in plastic, you have to wrap all the cables that charge them in plastic, which you have to go all the way around the planet, and then you can't get rid of the batteries easily once you've done them. They're going to contaminate the planet. The whole thing is a nightmare. Green hydrogen all the way. Yo. But it gives us a chance to get involved in green hydrogen because we've missed, thank God, the battery power thing. Nicola Sturgeon says she didn't resign over money difficulties that she knew were going on in the SNP because she didn't know they were going on in the SNP. But if you notice carefully, she had her hands behind her back and she was like that the whole time. Allegedly. Obviously not in this photograph. I have my fingers crossed then if you're listening on the podcast. I wonder what the hell's going on then. Don't worry. It's fine. What else has gone on? There we go. We had another passing. This time it was Harry Belafonte, who was a calypso singer. I vaguely remember him. I think my mother liked him and had a couple of his records back in the day. Someone's put Smiley Mac Biden run. It might kill him. Just getting to 2024 might kill him. Maureen Williamson is America's best hope. Hi, Jay Morris, our random regular American star. Hope you're good. Yeah, it's been a bad year, a bad week for male celebrities. Not just the ones who've sadly passed, but other ones as well who've just done some allegedly stupid things. But more of that later. Right then, that brings us nicely to Wednesday. Pardon me. Wednesday. More people returned to the UK from Sudan, including this doctor who is Sudanese, but he lives in the United Kingdom, and he is a doctor in the NHS in the United Kingdom, and he was struggling to get home as well. The government say the target for police of 20,000 new officers has been made. Labour say it's not new officers, they're just replacing the officers that have been cut over the last 10 or so years. That will rumble on and on and on, no doubt. Then that was it, really. It's been a quiet week for a lot of news this week, it has to be said. It takes us nicely, though, to that there Thursday, which is my favourite day of the week. It's not really. Just saying, it might be, but it's not. Well, yeah, I was wrong about the no more deceased people, sadly. There is another one. Judge rules that, where are we? There we go. The RCN strike that is starting tomorrow, but this was on Thursday, cannot run for the full length that what the RCN wanted it to run, because they only had a mandate for going on strike for 6 months, and the 6 months runs out Monday night. I think it's Monday night or Tuesday night. Anyway, either way, it runs out, so they can't do the strike for as long as they want, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. I think there should be a maximum length of strikes for people in public sector. Meanwhile, talking of strikes, strikes have been announced on the trains, including the FA Cup final. There's everyone's favourite chav. I forgot his name now. Lad Dev plays for England and City. I don't think America's first thought. If it was Tate, it would be, sadly, yes. But yeah, the rail strikes just seem to be going on and on and on. Unlike Jerry Springer, who I always felt sorry for Jerry Springer, because whenever he was on telly, he always had to have a card with his name on so he wouldn't forget who he was, and he'd always have the crowd going, Jerry, 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 and all that, so he wouldn't forget who he was, which I suppose is, you know, helping the society and the world and everything. But yeah, sadly, he's passed away at the age of 79. There was also apparently a dreadful opera made about the TV show, which itself was dreadful in every way, shape and form. However, people liked it, and it made him a very, very rich man indeed, and I'm pretty sure he was a mayor or something similar for a while in a town or city in America. But yeah, sadly passed away on Thursday, or at least it was announced. The government announced on Friday that the evacuation would be ending on Saturday from Sudan. So basically get yourselves to where you need to be as quick as you can, otherwise we won't be able to get you out again. It was very much similar to what happened in Afghanistan, which was an absolute cluster mess. Talking of which, the BBC chairman resigns, but not quite yet. He'll actually leave in June. This is over the Boris scandal about the money and the loan and his part in organising it in order to get himself the chairmanship of the BBC, allegedly, because he was going for the job, and Boris at the time was the Prime Minister, and he was the one who actually announced who got it, so a lot of controversy went on. I've mentioned it before in the past. Some strike results came in. The GMB voted to accept their pay offer. 56% of the people who voted for it. But Unite, they rejected the offer, and they voted for it by only 51%, which is a pretty low number. But it doesn't matter if it's one vote, whatever. It's democracy. Most votes win. Catch you later, news dude. No worries, Flying Scotsman. You take care. Meanwhile, in Ukraine, airstrikes returned. I can only think that one of the countries has resupplied Russia with the capabilities of destroying civilian properties again, which means, as far as I'm concerned, they are as guilty as the Russians of war crimes. Because if they are supplying weapons to Russia, and Russia are using them against civilians, i.e. this apartment block and others, and infrastructure, then you are complicit with war crimes. So, yeah, they should get what they get. There's also local elections starting or happening in the UK next Thursday, and people getting excited. I'm doing a lot for it because I'm standing as an independent candidate in my ward, which is Pemberton in the United Kingdom, and I've been posting leaflets. I've currently posted, I had 4 boxes. I've only got 1.5 boxes left. There was 6,000 leaflets, so I've posted over 3,000 leaflets now in a week, which I don't think is bad at all. I'm even doing it in between finishing work today and coming on here tonight. So yeah, it's been a busy time, but I'm prepared to put the legwork in. I'm even doing a live Ask Me Questions tomorrow night, probably, on this here YouTube. Hi JT, hi Rachel, hope you're good. That's what Bill and Ted said. Warnings that warning. Sorry. Oh, that's what the warning should say, the emergency thing, shouldn't it? But anyway, there are warnings that say that. Am I on Saturday? No, I'm on. No, I've gone way off piste here. Sorry about that. I meant completely. I jumped a whole day. I don't know you can do that when it's the last day that you're already on, but you know what I mean. So Saturday, and we had news coming through of a return of fighting in Sudan. This is while there's supposed to be a ceasefire for people to escape Sudan who are innocent bystanders. But sadly, it's not looking good for Sudan and the people who live there. Warnings, more warnings, saying that the strikes tomorrow by the RCN, because they're being more aggressive with the action and they are doing less help with people in A&E and places like that. So they're saying that there could be a severe risk to patient safety. But they've said that before and nothing really happens. And then we've also got the Wigan Athletic, if you're a Wiganer, have been relegated with a last minute goal from a corner apparently, which levelled the score at 1-1 against Reading, which means they've been relegated from the Championship and now back into Division 1 next season. Rich says hi, and hi Smiley Mac. Excellent. So that was it for the week news. However, we've still got America to do. La 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 America, what's going on in America? Thankfully it's not as bad as usual. It's not as much as usual either. It's been again, I think just generally it's been a pretty quiet week in the news. Yay, Jay Morris. I'm not gonna rip into America as much as usual, Jay Morris. You'll be pleased to hear, being a resident American. I assume you report back to the Pentagon about what I've said, just so that you know Biden and his crew are up to date with what the British thinking is. They were winning, and it was a last minute goal as well. Good evening, Marty Hopkirk. Hope you're well as well. Don't forget to listen to the podcast. You can join in by subscribing to the YouTube channel. Use the link in the description of the podcast, and then you can join the chat, and then you can listen to me reading out what you say when you next listen to the podcast after you've actually interacted with it. How exciting is that? US and Taliban join forces to battle ISIS in Afghanistan. What? Afghanistan has devolved into a haven for ISIS terrorists to plan and carry out their attacks since the precipitous US withdrawal in 2021. But to be fair, the Americans and the British committed war crimes by going into Afghanistan and completely created this mess themselves. So they should go in and sort it out. But how you can sort it out, I don't know. Champion, right, baby's eating battery time, yeah. Jay Morris, right, okay, the way the football works is, in the UK, the soccer, is that you have the Premiership, or the Premier League, and they are the Man Uniteds and all that kind of stuff. And then you have the Championship, which is basically the second league. And then to make people not feel like they're doing crap, instead of calling the next league down the third league, they call it League One, even though technically it's League 3. And then below that is League 2, and if you drop out before that, you have to play local football, i.e. with local things. It's like grassroots football. So you really want to stay, you know, in the top 4 leagues. But that's basically how it works. Yeah, so USA and Taliban have joined forces against ISIS, which is a shocker, but we'll wait and see how that turns out, allegedly. A coral reef with abundant marine life discovered off the Galapagos Islands. A scientific expedition has discovered a previously unknown coral reef with abundant marine life off Ecuador, Galapagos Islands. It's the first discovery of its kind since the protected marine area was established in 1998. I'm pretty sure that the reason for this is because the sea is warming up, and obviously the Great Barrier Reef is currently struggling with rising temperatures, and it's quite shallow as well. But when the coral multiplies, the coral babies, whatever they are, because they're live animals, aren't they, coral? They float around the entire sea, and if they land somewhere that's suitable, which may not have been suitable before, they will start a colony there of coral, and then it will grow until we discover it. So I think that's all that's happened. I don't think it's like amazing. I think it's just the temperature changes of the sea around the world is going to move things around. Autistic Jewish teen is attacked and has a swastika carved on his back at a Las Vegas high school. Now I know this isn't in the UK, but it does kind of show the point that a certain MP in the United Kingdom is talking out of her anal passage because this is a white Jewish boy who's been racially abused by his peers at school. 17-year-old he is. Shocking, absolutely shocking what they've done to him. Teens working for Instacart get shot after going to wrong address. Now we've had a lot of people being shot at. Do you remember the Ralph last week, I think he was called, the 16-year-old who was shot in the head? He went to pick up his siblings and knocked on the wrong house and basically had his head blown off. Thankfully he's recovering. The poor young woman who got killed as a passenger in a car that pulled up on the wrong drive and got shot. Well, this one is another one. 2 teenagers were shot when they accidentally drove up the wrong address while delivering groceries for Instacart in South Florida. The boy and his girlfriend who was in the car ended up in the wrong home, and the young couple was on the phone with the customer looking for the right address, and the owner of the house came out and shot them, because that's what you do in America. Okay, I lied, smiling, Jay Morris, sorry, when I said I wouldn't have a go at Americans, but I mean, come on. Mystery mounts as cattle turn up dead with tongues removed in Texas. 6 cattle were mysteriously found dead with their tongues completely removed and no sign of blood spilled, mystifying Texas authorities this week. Ranchers in Madison County found a 6-year-old longhorn cross cow lying on her side, deceased and mutilated, along with a state highway in east central Texas. The Madison County Sheriff's Office said on Wednesday the animal's tongue had been completely removed. I can only imagine It's the aliens, and they discovered that ox tongue is delicious. And Elder still gives out his leaflets. Well, yeah, of course I give out my leaflets, otherwise people won't know to vote for me. Look, leaflet, I've even got one here, look. Well, I've got two here, I've got one there and one there. But look, leaflet. Woo! Anyway, a cruise liner lets passenger's body badly decompose in a drink cooler after heart attack. Now, remember last week we mentioned this, that this poor gentleman had had a heart attack on a ship, on a cruise liner, and for some reason the fridge is in the morgue, because you have to have a morgue on a ship, because obviously people die all the time. Not on the ship necessarily, but I mean, you don't know when someone's going to die. So they have to have a morgue on a ship because they're at sea for quite a while. But it turned out that this fridge that they put him in, because the morgue fridge freezer whatever wasn't working, was not suitable, unusually and surprisingly, to put a dead body in. So it started to decompose. So they are now being sued for over £1 million. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not really into suing people for the sake of suing it, but in this case, yes, go ahead. Giant Disneyland dragon catches fire during phantasmic performance. A 45-foot tall animatronic dragon caught fire and forced partygoers to flee from a popular show at Disneyland on Saturday. The blaze started during the theme park's Phantasmic show at the Tom Sawyer Island attraction. Multiple videos were posted on social media capturing the Maleficent's dragon's head engulfed in flames mid-performance. A thick black smoke plume was seen rising from the location across the 100-acre site. That dragon thing was really funny. It probably wasn't funny if you were there, but I mean, it's a dragon and catching fire. It kind of, yeah, there is an amusing element of it. The good news is no one was injured in the incident. Disney does whatever they want. Yeah, we know that. We know what Disney are like. Disney are, yeah. I know that's something I should have done then. But, yeah. Two empty suburban Utah homes collapsed downhill. Two dangerously unstable homes whose occupants were ordered to evacuate 6 months ago collapsed downhill on Saturday in suburban Salt Lake City. No one was injured when the unoccupied houses on the edge of the hill broke apart early in the day. It's happening all over the place. Houses when they were built, they weren't next to cliffs and hills and things. It's just erosion over time has made them move there. It didn't catch fire. It rapidly spat out flames at an unscheduled time. Oh, right, okay. Oh, yes, I get it. I Smiley Mac, that's a reference to SpaceX, isn't it, from last week, where they said that the rocket didn't explode. It was a rapid, unscheduled disassembly. So you've gone for the rapidly spat out flames. Yes. Very good, Smiley Mac. It's nice to see, keeping note of what's going on. I bet the resale price dropped. I don't know. I bet the actual toys in the gift shop flew out. And then kids take them home and set them on fire. Then get plastic burns on them because they try and pick it up while it's on fire. No, don't do that, kids. Don't eat batteries either. US Embassy staff evacuated from war-torn Sudan. It's one thing that was put to the British government was the fact that other countries were evacuating their people quicker than the United Kingdom, and the argument was that the United Kingdom had no one in Sudan who were able to do anything straight away. We had to send people over, whereas other countries had troops or people very nearby or actually in Sudan. And they just acted straight away. But either way, it is a mess. Russian oligarch's London mansion look pristine despite UK sanctions on the owners. Sprawling mansion estates in London owned by billionaire Russian oligarchs seem to be in picture-perfect condition despite the United Kingdom slapping sanctions on the jet-setting honchos last year. This was after Moscow began its bloody invasion of Ukraine. The UK implemented travel bans against Russia oligarchs and froze their assets, including $2 billion worth of real estate, in an attempt to put the squeeze on those who are talking and whispering into Putin's ear. And rightly so. And I think we should do it with China as well. I think it should be done. China. Second gunman, not Mark David Chapman, may have shot John Lennon, says an author. Imagine that. David Chapman might be innocent in the murder of John Lennon, according to a British author and TV producer who said in his upcoming documentary and book how a second shooter might have killed the iconic singer. I mean, come on. It's... two teens shot, one fatally, in a pair of overnight New York City shootings after 3 days of relative peace. You'll notice we haven't really had any major shootings so far, and we've been on the United States of America for a little while. But anyway, sadly, it's over. Police were interviewing a person of interest in the deadly shooting of an 18-year-old in Brooklyn. The victim, whose name has not been publicly released, was shot in the chest and right leg outside of the Ingersoll House near downtown Brooklyn around 11:05 p.m. Another shooting, another young lad was injured. America, sort your guns out, absolutely. One dead suspect in custody in Oklahoma college shooting. One man is dead, another in custody after a domestic situation sparked a shooting inside an Oklahoma college on Monday, according to the authorities. Police were dispatched to the Rose State College with an active shooter alert, with school officials immediately placing the school on lockdown. Cops on campus responded to the alert and found the victim with a fatal gunshot wound and confronted the gunman. Hopefully again they get what they deserve. I've skipped here, I've skipped there quite a few. Oh, we had a big one yesterday, it just hasn't filtered your way. Oh, it has? Oh, yes. We're not at the bottom of the page yet, Jay Morris. Don't worry about that. Wagner's convict soldiers are back in Russia and accused of murders. Two Russian murder convicts who were conscripted as soldiers for the Wagner mercenary group to fight in Ukraine have been accused of new killings after being released. The Wagner head said that the estimated 40,000 convicted criminal conscripted into service, there are about 5,000 men who survived 6 months of service and have since been pardoned and released. Among them, two of them who've gone on to commit another murder. I mean, who would have thought that if you get a murderer who's in prison for life to come out of prison to fight in a war to murder innocent people in a foreign country in a legal war, and then they survive that by some miracle, and then you send them home, they will not revenge on the people who put them in prison in the first place. Who would have thought such a thing? Well, obviously not the Russians. Pig as pig poop. Russian troops forcibly evacuating key city of Kherson, which is a surprise because I thought they were about to take it. But according to this, Russian troops are forcibly evacuating civilians from the key city of Kherson, Ukraine authorities have claimed, seeming to suggest that Moscow may be reeling back its troops ahead of a highly anticipated Ukrainian counter-offensive, which you remember was leaked a few weeks ago by that young man soldier. Ed Sheeran, what a plonker. I mean, I don't know, I've not seen it, but I can imagine it's, you go like, you go, what, a plonker? But no, jury selection kicks off in another plagiarism lawsuit against Ed Sheeran for lifting parts of a Marvin Gaye song. Jury selection kicked off in a lawsuit accusing Ed Sheeran of lifting parts of Marvin Gaye's soul classic Let's Get It On for his own music. The heirs of the late Ed Townsend, who co-wrote the iconic 1973 song with Gaye, claim that the Sheeran should have to pay them a proportion of the profits from his track Thinking Out Loud, which they say copies the melodies and other aspects of the classic song. I mean, it's not like Ed Sheeran's been here before, is it? He's practically got his own bloody court these days, so he can just go in and say, I didn't do anything. A woman accused of assassinating pro-Putin blogger is denied bail. A Russian court on Monday rejected an appeal seeking bail for an accused female assassin charged in a bombing that killed a prominent pro-war Russian military blogger. Prosecutors have accused 26-year-old Daria Trebova of bringing an explosive device concealed inside a statuette and presenting it to Vladan Tazarsky, whose real name was Maxim Formin, during an event at St. Petersburg on April the 2nd. We remember that, don't we? But yeah, I mean, whether she's guilty or not, they're going to make her the scapegoat for it, so sadly we won't see her again free. A massive blue hole discovered off the coast of Mexico. Is it a window into new life forms? Well, no, it's not a window because windows are made of glass and it's water, so it's not a window. And it's not new. It's probably older than most of the planet, so it's not new and it's not a window. To be fair, it says new life forms. But could it fill in a massive knowledge gap on alien life? Researchers flabbergasted the science community after discovering the world's second largest blue hole in Mexico, which could potentially provide a window into lives on other planets. Do I think it's got like some kind of thing that sends you to Mars or something? It'd be great if it did, like a wormhole, only it's full of water, so they take all the water out and then jump in it, you end up on Mars, and then you die because you haven't put your suit on because you forgot. Anyway, the massive sapphire sinkhole was originally discovered in 2021 but was only documented recently in the scientific journal Frontiers in Marine Science. It's likely to be the deepest known to man. It's took us how long to find it? We've got satellites. A blue hole, they should get that tested. Very good smelling. What is Arcturus? It's a new COVID variant of interest and may spread globally. Well, it's going to spread globally because we don't lock down countries where it's at, which is always the problem. If you've got a variant of interest, what you need to do is contain it in wherever it is. So if it's in Africa, we ban all travel to and from Africa instantly, like a flick of a switch, until we find out how dangerous, what the risks are to the rest of the world. But no, what we do is, because everyone wants money, airlines and hotels and all that kind of gubbins, we let people fly all over the world. So that's why these things spread. They didn't spread so much in the oldie days because you had to travel by ship and it was a sailing ship, so it was slow. So if it's something that would kill people, it would kill everyone on the ship before they landed anywhere. But nowadays, oh no, just get on a plane, you'll be fine. Brilliant. A new sub-variant of COVID-19 is increasing in the US and is now responsible for nearly 10% of all new cases, according to alerts for the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention and the World Health Organization. The CDC estimates that Omicron strain, more commonly known as Arcturus, was the cause of 9.6% of new infections this week. That represents an increase from nearly 6% last week. Whether it's going to be more fatal or not, I don't know, but last thing we need is to go back down into lockdowns and all that crap again. But last thing we also need is loads of people dying unnecessarily. So watch this space. I'm not interested in it, let's not bring it here. If only that was that easy, smiley back. 9 Texan teens wounded in a shooting at after prom party. 9 teenagers were involved in a shooting at a Texas house hosting an after prom party, with shots then ringing out in 2 other locations, including the hospital where the wounded were being treated. The initial attack in the early hours of Sunday came as an estimated 250 people packed a house after the Jasper High school prom ended at midnight. The wounded students were aged between 15 and 19. America, sort your gun laws out, you absolute ones. See what I did there? I self-censored myself. Climate protesters tried to bring Berlin traffic to a halt. German climate activists tried to bring traffic to a standstill in Berlin on Monday morning by gluing themselves to the streets all over the capital. Members of the group Last Generation, which is basically Stop Oil, have repeatedly blocked roads across Germany in the past year in an effort to pressure the government to take more drastic action against climate change. On several occasions, they have glued themselves to the roads, enraging some motorists and prompting accusations of extremisms from the conservative elements. America saw your problems. It's a new one, but yeah, hopefully we won't be saying it too often. Bill Mayer says high Chicago crime rate isn't talked about enough. Why are you killing each other? HBO host Bill Maher wondered why more people, including celebrities, don't speak to the devastating crime wave that's gripped Chicago and led to countless tragic deaths. The comments come during the most recent episode of Real Time with Bill Maher, where the well-known commentator delved into the topic of growing violence across the country before zooming in on the Windy City. Well, Bill, I've been going on about it for weeks and weeks and weeks. And do America listen? Do they? No, they don't. How much trouble would you be in if you accidentally ran over them? I think quite a bit, which is unfortunate, to be fair. But they shouldn't be there in the first place, should they? I mean, gluing yourselves to the road, where does glue come from? How does it get to the shop? You know, I mean, the whole thing is just full of flaws. In Florida, you'd probably get a medal. Yeah, you probably would, to be fair. It's been reported that Prince Harry will sit 10 rows back from the royals at King Charles's coronation. So that's roughly where President Biden sat during the Queen's funeral. Yeah, but we don't care, do we? Let's be honest. So, shut up, Harry. Or sit there, Harry, maybe. Yeah, sit there, Harry. Kenya pastor arrested after 39 bodies dug up in cult investigation. 39 bodies have been found so far on land owned by a pastor in coastal Kenya who was arrested for telling his followers to fast to death. The sub-county police chief said that more shallow graves have yet to be dug up on the land belonging to Pastor Paul McCarthy, who was arrested on April the 14th over links to cultism. The total death toll is 43 because a further 4 people died after the police started digging up the bodies. But yeah, fast yourself to death? Wow. I'd wear it with pride. Easy now, protesting in Port. Yes, I agree, Jay Morris. I'm not saying protest. I mean, look at me. I'm protesting the local council, but I'm doing it by standing against them in an election. That's my way of protesting, and by doing the odd video or so. I don't disrupt regular people's daily life. There could be people waiting to go to hospital, or nurses going to hospital, doctors going to hospital, or people going to nuclear power stations, or stuff like that. There's reasons why people are travelling, and it doesn't matter what you're doing. You shouldn't interfere with those kind of situations. What they should do is go and blockade the oil terminals, so no lorries can get in and out of the oil terminals, or something like that. That makes more sense. That's what they used to do over here at Stanlow. If there was any problems, they'd all block off the Stanlow oil refinery, and then yeah, it was a lot less hassle, but it also got the point across, and people were more likely to support them. But all you're going to do by annoying people is get them to hate you. So yeah. Anyway, let's move on. Yeah, and have you seen the videos where people have been picked up by the shirts, like grabbed like that and dragged off? Well, you've got your hand stuck, you're going to rip your skin off, aren't you? So yeah, it's just a silly thing to do. Go block the electric car companies. Yeah, I'm so against electric cars. It's unbelievable. Americans trapped in Sudan told to shelter in place till help can arrive. Thousands of Americans still trapped in war-torn Sudan were warned that they will have to shelter in place while the US works to get them out. Most of the US citizens remaining in the East African nation ravaged by civil war are aid workers or Sudanese Americans. But yeah, it's not just Britain that's got the problem getting them out, because, like I say, it's not like everyone lives in like the same block of flats or in the same area, but like everywhere, they're spread out all over the country. So you can't just click your fingers and get everyone straight away. It takes time. It takes time. What does it take? It takes time. Company behind early morning emergency alert that woke up millions as a new message for Florida. Now we had it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday. Florida had an accidental one. It was human error that caused an alert notifications to be sent to millions of Florida's phones at 4:45 a.m. on Thursday. So 4:45 a.m. everyone gets woken up in Florida, millions of people, because the phones are going off sending that horrendous alarm thing because some idiot has pressed the wrong button. Brilliant. What you need to do is get one of them little flap things that go over the button. So you got your button there and your flap goes over it. So if you put your coffee down on it, it's not going to press the button. Yeah, I think everyone's got out now. The majority of people have got out now. Smiley Mike from Sudan, hopefully. Don't know though. Trump's bitterest trial begins as E. Jean Carroll accuses him of rape. Donald Trump faces the bitterest and most personal trial of his legal battles yet in Manhattan, as a Vice columnist E. Jean Carroll's claim that he raped her in the 1990s, then lied about it, finally goes in front of a jury. Carroll, now 79, will go under oath to accuse Trump of forcing himself on her in the dressing room of Bergdorf's Goodman's lingerie department, while her lawyers plan to play jurors the infamous P-Gates thing. Don't know what the P-Gate thing is, and I don't want to know. I don't want to know because I imagine it's quite rude. 1912 linen map of Titanic sells for nearly $250,000. A 1912 linen map of the Titanic, used for an inquiry into the famed ocean liner's sinking, have sold at auction for $243,000. The 33-foot-long map, prepared by the White Star Line's Naval Architects Design Department, still has the red and green chart marks that showed where the fateful iceberg broke through the 5 of the massive ship's watertight bulkheads, according to CNN. Yeah, it's amazing what people will buy. I mean, that kind of thing is fascinating, but whether I pay that much for it, well, I wouldn't. What you put there, Smiley Mike, accidentally, in quotation marks, pressed it early. More of a, how many Florida men can I annoy in one day? It's not just men, it'd be children and women as well. It'd just be everyone getting annoyed. More young people report believing in higher power post-pandemic poll. A rising number of young people are putting their faith in higher powers as the world continues to grapple with a post-COVID-19 pandemic reality. A new poll revealed. The survey, conducted in December by the Springate Research Institute, suggested about 1/3 of 18 to 25-year-olds believe more than doubt the existence of a higher power. Yeah, I am proud to say that I am a devout atheist. Thank you. Seems a bit unwieldy for a collectible. Yeah, you could. You're on about the map of the Titanic, aren't you? Yeah, you could literally. Be like the Bay of Tapestry, wouldn't it? If you had a small living room, you could actually use it as wallpaper all the way around. Indiana bill would force schools to tell parents if kids want name or pronoun change. An Indiana bill heading to the desk of the state's Republican governor would require schools to alert parents if their child requests a name or pronoun change. Well, I'm sorry, but they are the parents. They must know these things. And also find out why the child is doing it. Have they been pressured into doing it, as we've already discussed at length, by teachers and guest speakers, etc. Or have they decided off their own will that they want to do it, in which case that's fine. Trans runner ripped for racing London Marathon as female after racing in New York as a man. So a transgender runner is under fire for crediting girl power for beating nearly 14,000 others in the female category of the London Marathon just months after racing in New York as a man. Sports bra wearing racer Glenique Frank, who ran the New York Marathon on November the 6th as Glenn Frank, went viral after stopping to talk to BBC reporter covering the UK's race on Sunday. London is the best, they said. couldn't this make some issues at home if the parents are accepting? Yeah, but the parents need advice as well. But I'd be more concerned of not being told. I mean, okay, I'm more understanding. I get where you're coming from, but I think parents need to know, especially young kids. You know, I mean, okay, maybe when you're 14, 15, 16, you've got more of an idea what's going on. But if you're 5 or 6, then you need to you need to know what's going on with your child, because you know we've already discussed before that there's major issues with people changing genders and then regretting it, and it's happening more and more because more and more people are changing genders, and it's not something you can do and then instantly change. You know, a good example that someone said was, you know, back in the day, you had in the UK you had mods and rockers, and obviously you in America you've got your jocks and all that kind of thing, and then you had punks and all that kind of gubbins, you know, with the pins through the ears and nose and ripped shirts and all that kind of stuff. But that's easily changeable. If you're having major surgery because you've been pressured into it, because someone thinks that, you know, if you're a bloke, if you're a young boy, you might be a bit effeminate. So, oh, you should be a girl then, because, you know, and they get brainwashed into thinking they should be a girl. That is dangerous. Same way that a girl who, you know, might like playing football and climbing trees, we used to call them a tomboy, would maybe pressured into becoming a male. And it's not right. Those pressures should not be put on them. They should decide themselves when they are old enough to do so. And I don't agree with people being pressured into doing something that they don't want to do. Because, like I say, we all go through different stages of life. And we all think differently as we go through life. You know, it's whatever you're thinking now, whatever age you are, you think 10 years ago, would I have thought this? You probably wouldn't. You'd have come up with a different conclusion to whatever it is you're thinking about. And in 15, 20 years' time, when you're a bit older, you look at it again, you think a different thing. But you can't change something once you've done something like major surgery on your bits and pieces, regardless of which way it is. So parents need to know what's going on, and they need to sort out what's going on. And if they're being pressured by some liberal teacher who's got these ideas in their head because it's worked for them, and they're pushing it on all their kids, then that is wrong, and they shouldn't be in teaching. Kids should be allowed to develop in their own time and decide when they're old enough to decide which way they want their life to go. And that is my argument. Where have we gone? Depending on the age, yeah, but if you're older, giving someone a talk to, not ready for home conversion. Home conversation. I was say home conversion. Oh my God! God's sake! Oh, crikey, bobs! That took a turn. Not for the best. Ed Sheeran in New York court for federal copyright trial over Marvin Gaye classic. Four-time Grammy award-winning musician Ed Sheeran arrived in a Manhattan federal court on Tuesday for his trial over a lawsuit accusing him of lifting parts of Marvin Gaye's Let's Get It On for his own use. The case, which began on Monday with jury selection, will decide whether Sheeran's Thinking Out Loud ripped off parts of Gaye's iconic 1973 soul classic. The Shape of You singer is being sued by the heirs of the late writer of the song. But yeah, it's happened so many times with Ed Sheeran. It's quite scary, isn't it? I don't think he's lost one yet, though, to be fair. Vigilante mobs burn gang members alive in the streets of Haiti. This is horrendous. A mob of murderous vigilantes fatally beat and burnt 13 suspect gang members in Haiti's lawless capital city, which has mostly been controlled by criminals since the 2021 assassination of President Jovenel Moïse. The men were stoned and lit on the fire with gasoline soaked tyres. I mean, you know, it's just horrific what is going on in certain parts of the world. And, you know, we moan about what's going on here, but we've got no problems compared to other places. I mean, Ukraine, Sudan, Haiti, and there's many other places. China. It's just horrendous what humans will do to other humans. American arrested in Australia after 24-carat gold-plated gun found in bag. An American woman was arrested in Australia over the weekend after airport staff found a 24-carat gold-plated gun in her luggage. The unnamed woman, 28, was taken into custody on Sunday at Sydney Airport after arriving from Los Angeles. It's you've got to abide by the laws of the country you're going to. I mean, Australia is like one of the strictest countries for this kind of thing. You know, you can't take food there in case it's got bacteria or it's got parasites or beetles or something in it, or if it's a plant, if it's got a disease on it that isn't in that country. They're trying to keep Australia as free as they can from contaminated products that could, you know, basically wipe out their food supply. But obviously they're not into guns either. So why anyone would think it was a good idea and they would get away with smuggling a gun in their suitcase into Australia is completely bonkers. And again, I hope she gets everything that's coming to her, because that's just disrespectful on a multitude of levels. Just because you can do it in your country doesn't mean that you can do it all over the world. The thing is, there are other songs that sound similar to other songs. They can't make new notes. That makes it unique to everything similar. Australia's sorted that guns out. Very good, Smiley back. You're right though, yeah. I mean, a lot of songs, you know, you say, oh, that sounds a little bit like, and then you think of another song. There was a song recently. I can't remember what it was now, but it was from a current artist, and it was such a copy, in my opinion, of another song. But you never know. You know, it might well have been, but they might have said to the person who wrote the original song, look, you know, we're using this chord from your song, so we're going to give you, you know, 2% of the royalties that we earn from this song as a way of payment for it, and they come to this agreement to release it. I think the problem with Ed Sheeran is that they're saying he's done it, but he's done it without consent, and therefore they are looking to get a considerable amount of money off him. Plus, to be fair, Marvin Gaye hasn't had a hit for a long while. I mean, he passed away when he was tragically shot by his own father. God, decades ago now. So maybe the estate, you know, is thinking, well, you know, this guy's made money off our work, in their opinion, so we deserve some of that money. And, you know, fair play if they get it. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle spotted at Lakers playoff game, and apparently they were seen smiling together. The first time they've been seen outside smiling together. But you know what? I couldn't give a monkey's left dangle a bit. Americans spent more on legal cannabis in 2022 than chocolate and beer. US residents are spending more money to purchase legal cannabis than they are on chocolate, craft beer and tropical pain relief. A report from a company showed Americans spent roughly $30 billion on legal marijuana in 2022, while only spending $20 billion on chocolate. The cannabis purchases eclipsed sales of feel-good products, including beer, opioid medications, and topical, not tropical, pain relief. Shut up, Harry. Stop smiling, Harry. We know it's a lie. I would be 100% against it, legalising it. I'll be honest with you. Black bear spotted running in downtown Orlando. Residents urged to avoid. Like, you'd be like, oh look, there's a bear there, let's go and pet it, shall we? No, avoid it. It's a bear, and it's wild, and it's running around. Don't go near it. But residents of Orlando have to be told not to go near it. Yeah, brilliant. Well done. Nice one, America. Sort your bears out. Really, I thought the more of that they had, the more chocolate they'd have. Got the munchies, you mean? Yeah. No, I know people who've smoked marijuana, and for quite a while. I've never done it. Never ever done it. I might have been in a room where someone smoked it and I wasn't aware, because I can't smell it. I'll be honest with you. Walking down the street with someone and they go, "Oh my God, do you see it? Do you smell that weed?" Then I'm like, "No." That's not a COVID thing. They've just never been able to smell it. It's just one of them things I can't smell. But yeah, the amount of issues that they have, the people, might be because they smoke it, or maybe they smoke it because of the mental issues they've got. But I just think it causes more problems than what it's worth. And as we looked at last week, although you weren't here, Jay Morris, where were you? I didn't get a sick note or a letter requesting a holiday from the show. Said that a lot of the workers in New York City now are walking around like zombies. So yeah, I just don't think it's, a good thing. Anyway, so does booze, but at least my J isn't really bad for your insides. No, it messes with your brain instead. That's the problem. Yeah, I must admit, I do the booze. Can't remember last time I was absolutely smashed out of my skull, but I do the booze. But I don't do it on the streets. And the majority of people who are causing issues on the streets are generally smoking or injecting drugs. There are a few alcoholics, obviously, which again should be treated as a mental health issue, not as a problem. But yeah. Marijuana, no. I've seen how people change when they, from before they go on it to when they're on it, and it's not pleasant. But obviously, if you're on it yourself, you don't notice because everyone's changing the same way. But looking from the outside in, you just think, yeah, no, I'm not doing it. But yeah, alcohol, cigarettes, even vaping is becoming addictive, and I'm more against vaping than I am smoking because you're ingesting chemicals that have been atomized or whatever the hell they do with them inside those machines into your lungs, and you paid a few bucks from a stall somewhere or a smoke shop as they're called in America. Are vape shops smoke shops, or smoke shops cannabis shops? I don't really know, but there's always something going on outside them. But yeah, probably better for them to have the legal stuff than the illegal stuff. Yeah, I suppose, and you get taxes as a government as well. But I think in the long term, the mental health issues created by it over excessive use outweighs making it legal, in my opinion. But I'm not an expert, so more New York City parking garages have structural flaws and need immediate fix. Well, we've already discussed this because obviously the tragedy that happened, it was last week or the week before, where the multi-storey car park that was 100 years old collapsed with the weight of vehicles in it. Bearing in mind now that people are driving SUVs and obviously electric cars with the batteries that weigh considerable amount, considerably more than an engine, for example. So yeah, it's unsurprising, but there's roughly 4,000 garages that need urgent attention or closing with immediate effect. A 1,000-year-old mummy of teen killed in possible human sacrifice found in Peru. The mummy of a youngster who lived more than 1,000 years ago in Peru has been discovered by archaeologists at a burial site known to the house the remains of the victim of the human sacrifice. The discovery, dating back to pre-Inca times, was made on Monday on the outskirts of the capital Lima. The mummy, still bearing pieces of skin and tufts of hair, was found in an underground tomb wrapped in a funerary bundle, along with some what you could only call really knickknacks, bits and pieces. I don't know what they'd have. I always look for knickknacks when I'm posting leaflets because if there's knickknacks, there's probably someone still living there. So many houses that are empty. Secret mass grave of Russian Wagner mercenaries discovered in Siberia. A mass grave of Russian Wagner Group mercenaries has been discovered at a remote burial ground in Siberia, according to a report backed by video evidence. Some 200 freshly dug graves decorated with wreaths bearing symbols associated with the notorious paramilitary organisation have been observed at the Gushyno-Bronsky Cemetery in the north city of Novobrisk. The independent Russian news site states, but again, it's propaganda, etc. It may or may not be, but it certainly is a possibility because, let's be honest, these people are criminals who are in prison and have only gone to war so they can have their sentence reduced. Right, where are we up to? Where are we up to? I've lost my space, my place. I've lost my place again. Where have you gone? Where have you gone? Hello? There you are. There you are. King Charles' life-size bust made of chocolate unveiled ahead of coronation. It's a chocolate creation fit for a king. Yeah, if you want to kill him. Personally, I think it's horrendous. It's disgusting. First babies made with sperm robot are born, potentially lowering IVF costs. The first babies ever made with a sperm injecting robot reportedly were born thanks to a cutting edge procedure that experts say could lower the cost of IVF by thousands of dollars and therefore pounds. Engineers use a robotic needle to insert sperm cells into the eggs in New Hope Fertility Centre in New York City, resulting in 2 healthy embryos and ultimately 2 baby girls, according to reports. Yeah, it is good, but I mean, why you need a robot to do that? I mean, surely humans can do it. We already have one Charles and that's too many. Yeah. Naked sunbathing landlord doesn't justify reduced rent, a German court says. He's allowed to bear it all. A German court on Wednesday decided that a landlord with a penchant for sunbathing naked in the courtyard of his building was not a reason for his tenants to have reduced rent payments. The sunbathing was at the centre of a lawsuit filed by the landlord in Frankfurt against a human resources company that refused to pay rent for its office floor because it objected to his conduct. I think it's brilliant. I really need to do some outside naked stuff because, I mean, legally, obviously, I don't mean just run around a park naked. I mean, you know, proper. Just say I've done it, kind of thing, you know. Bucket list, all that kind of stuff. Biden, 80, once attacked a 63-year-old rival for being too old. President Biden once hammered an opponent for being too old for office, even though he was almost 20 years younger than the oldest ever commander-in-chief is now. Biden, running to stay president despite being 80, was a 29-year-old local Delaware councilman in 1972 when he ran the cruel and ultimately successful campaign for Senate. Biden repeatedly bashed his incumbent Republican senator, saying that he was too old for office, and now Biden is the leader of the free world, and he is considerably older than the person who said who was too old for whatever. A robot can get you pregnant now. Yes, a robot can get you pregnant now. Sweden launches research rocket, which accidentally it's Norway. A research rocket launched by Sweden. Sweden had a space corps. It's called the SSC. Early on Monday from Esrange Space Centre in northern Sweden, malfunctioned and landed 9.32 miles inside neighbouring Norway. The rocket reached an altitude of 155.34 miles, where the experiments were carried out in zero gravity. The agent said in a statement, it landed in the mountains at 1,000 metres altitude and 10 kilometres from the closest settlements. So yeah, they apologised profusely. But I mean, who knew that Sweden had a space project? There's something new every day. Every day is a school day. Check out the latest video on Elder's channel. I ran naked through Wigan, but legally. I wouldn't do it in Wigan, I'll be honest with you. It's a bit cold. US to send nuclear submarine to South Korea for first time in 40 years. What could possibly go wrong? The US will send a nuclear submarine to visit South Korea for the first time in 4 decades as part of a new deterrent arrangement between Washington and Seoul that is bound to draw the rage of North Korea. The arrangement, set to be formalised by President Biden later this week, is being described by the White House as the most significant of its kind since the Cold War. Yeah, brilliant. Let's talk about the Cold War, shall we? In the current tense. I mean, if they land so far away, I would keep my rickets quiet too. I would as well. A man scales California news tower and then waves a free Billie Eilish sign. A man shut down Hollywood Sunset Boulevard for over 3 hours after he scaled a TV tower while clutching a free Billie Eilish sign on Tuesday. The man, who has not been identified, climbed the 162-foot tower of the California news station KTLA and played his guitar while onlookers watched from below. He only made it 30 feet up the tower, so he didn't even get to the top. But the musical protester was eventually brought back down again. But I didn't realise Billie Eilish had been arrested for anything, so why was he asking for Billie Eilish to be freed? Free Billie Eilish. I'm telling you, free, free, free Billie Eilish now. 8-foot alligator living in Philadelphia home since 2012 is removed by animal control. An animal control officials removed a massive 8-foot alligator named Big Mac from a Philadelphia row home where he had been confined in the basement for more than a decade. The Animal and Care Control Team of Philadelphia was called to the home after the gator's humans divorced and his owner's ex-wife no longer wanted him in the house. The couple had the animal since he was a baby and kept him in a padlocked cage in their basement. To be fair, they're going through a divorce settlement. I'm surprised one of them didn't end up as lunch for the alligator. Texas parents arrested for tattooing their children, then cutting the kids' skin to remove the ink. A Texas couple was arrested on Monday for tying down their 2 young children and tattooing them before cutting their skin in a bid to remove the ink when authorities got involved. The mother and stepfather allegedly restrained their kids aged 5 and 9 with a rope, covered their mouths with tape and blindfolded them as they pressed in the tattoo needle. I mean, Jesus Christ. What is wrong with people? Your own kids. Ed Sheeran tells court he'd have to be quite an idiot to rip off Marvin Gaye. Well, have you ever heard Ed Sheeran speak? I think enough said on that one. Oh, hang on, there we go. A 79-year-old Illinois man accused of fatally shooting neighbour in head during an argument. A 79-year-old Illinois man is accused of murder after shooting his neighbour in the head during an argument over a leaf blower. What pets do you have, is the question. Oh, just the usual, a cat, a dog, an 8-foot crocodile and a goldfish. Yeah, exactly. Welcome to America. Just to think what pets Jay Morris has got. 2 flights from Houston turned back after slamming into a flock of birds. A pair of United Airlines flights were forced to turn back to Houston on Tuesday after slamming into a flock of birds. The 2 flights needed to reverse course back to Bush Intercontinental Airport in Texas at 10 p.m. when both planes struck a pack of birds. Because they take off so regularly, yeah, it makes sense that 2 planes would hit it. America sort out your elderly people. Texas teachers to get $25,000 to carry guns in school if the bill passes. I mean, why can't they see more guns is not the solution? I know what we'll do. Got all these mass murders in school. Got all these mass shootings. The rest of the world think we're stupid. I know what we'll do. Come on, America. Let's give all the teachers guns and pay them $25,000 if they don't kill someone. I mean, I'm going to say you can't make it up, but, well, sadly, you don't need to, it's true. Right, if one more bird hits this plane, we're turning around Atlantic. FBI warns Americans against travelling to Haiti as violent crime surges. Now, if you read the earlier awful stuff going on in Haiti, I think you'd have to be insane to want to go there. I mean, completely bonkers. Woman accusing Ed Sheeran of ripping off hit Marvin Gaye song collapses in the court. Ed Sheeran's federal copyright trial was thrown into disarray on Wednesday when the woman accused him of ripping off Marvin Gaye's Let's Get It On suddenly collapsed in court and had to be carried out by several people. Catherine Townsend Griffin, the daughter of the late Ed Townsend, who co-wrote the iconic 1973 soul classic, fainted in the Lower Manhattan courtroom just as Sheeran's attorney began cross-examining her. Oh, it almost sounds like a comedy thing, doesn't it? Couldn't that money be used to make it better? Maybe better security? Exactly, yeah. But again, why punish the kids? Mel Gibson calls on China to release American Mark Swindon on death row. Actor Mel Gibson is calling the release of Mark Swindon, a Texas man languishing on death row in China after he was wrongfully detained on drug charges more than a decade ago. Swindon, a businessman from Houston, was arrested in 2012 on accusations that he was trafficking and manufacturing metamorphine. He was convicted and given a death sentence with a reprieve in 2019, despite any evidence whatsoever. But now Mel Gibson's gone in there and well, not gone in there, but said, "Oi, China, release him." They'll be like, "Oh, yeah, it's Mel Gibson. He was Braveheart. Okay then." Yeah. Cargo train derails in Wisconsin, sending cars tumbling into the Mississippi River. A cargo train derailed along Wisconsin's Highway 35 on Thursday with two train cars falling into the Mississippi River. The derailment occurred at around 12:15 p.m. near the Lansing Bridge between DeSoto and Ferryville, with 20 train cars affected as first responders and crews rushed to attend the injuries and remove the cars from the river. Officials said there were no fatalities. America, sort your train tracks out. Where are we up to? That one. Don't want Mel Gibson again, thank you very much. Putin acts as butcher of Mariupol. General Mikhail Mizintov in a military purge. The Russian colonel, whose ruthless tactics in Ukraine earned him the nickname the Butcher of Mariupol, was booted from his high-ranking post as part of Vladimir Putin's military shake-up. Alexander Sladkov, a correspondent for the Russian state-run newspaper, said in a post on his Telegram channel on Thursday that the 60-year-old Misinov, who he described as a friend, was ousted and would no doubt at some point accidentally fall out of a hotel window or commit suicide, because that's what seems to happen to people who fall out of favour with Vladimir Putin. Biden can't recall a recent island state visit when he was questioned by kids. I mean, seriously? He's even got kids security guards. I mean, it's ridiculous. No wonder President Biden needs a cheat sheet while taking questions from adults. The 80-year-old commander-in-chief had difficulty remembering his recent state visit to Ireland while being grilled by kids during a Take Your Child to Work event at the White House. "The last country I've travelled, I'm trying to think of the last one I was in," Biden mused to the children of administration staffers and members of Congress. Where was I? I mean, it was only a family holiday, so he could go and meet up with his old ancestors. What's wrong with his eyes? Yeah, you're on about he's had work done, I think is probably the fairest thing to say, the ex-general. It is a very, very strange look. Putin. Whoop, whoop. Ukraine attempted to assassinate Putin with killer drone, claims someone. Ukraine reportedly attempted to assassinate Russian President Vladimir Putin with a killer drone, but it crashed short of its high-profile target. Unidentified sources claim that the Ukraine Secret Service launched a UJ-22 drone loaded with C4 explosive on Sunday. The German newspaper Bild reported the drone was allegedly intended to target the Rundovo industrial park where Putin was visiting at the time. I don't think they need to worry too much. I think there's enough people now within the Putin regime who want Putin gone as well. You can't remember, was it like a week ago? Yes. I'm not too old to rule the country, but I can't remember anything I did from a week ago. Exactly. Long distance lovebirds. This is a nice, sweet thing. Parrots learn to make friends via video calls. Polly wants an iPhone. A group of parrots were taught to make video calls to other birds, and the feathered squawkers wound up making close friendships, teaching each other to sing and even fly, according to new research. The chirping chatterboxes learned to use FaceTime and Zoom to gab with long-distance parrot pals by tapping a smartphone or a tablet with their beaks. I mean, teaching birds to sing over, yeah, I get that. I mean, birds can mimic things, can't they? I mean, we've all heard birds, particularly in cities, mimicking car alarms or emergency sirens and that kind of thing. So yeah, teaching songs, I get that, but teaching each other to fly, I think you might be pushing it a little bit there, because I think birds can do it already. I don't think they need to be taught. They just need to grow up enough to be able to do it. Okay. A vicious peacock escapes the Bronx Zoo and bites onlookers. Well, peacocks are vicious. They are not a nice-tempered bird. They are evil. But they don't bite. They peck. They are birds. They peck. That's the only reason I put that story up there, because it's factually incorrect. Arguing that COVID came from China could land you on Minnesota's government bias registry, according to a new bill. I mean, what is a government bias registry anyway? I mean, talk about woke. You're not allowed to have a, we were talking before with Jay Morris, who seems to have gone quiet at the minute, about the ability to protest and free speech and all that. But apparently you get stuck on a government bias registry if you say something they don't like. Minnesota have been debating a new bill whether praise for Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling are arguing that COVID originated in China would qualify as biased speech that would put citizens on a government database. Minnesota lawmakers are mulling a change to state law, which is House File 181, that would log alleged bias incidents. I mean, have we got better things to do? End poverty, save the planet from whatever we're saving the planet from this week. A serial sperm donor banned from continuing to donate. A Dutch man believed to have fathered over 500 children has been formally banned from donating sperm over fears that is increasing the risk of accidental incest amongst his spawn. Jonathan Jacob Meijje, 41, was forbidden by Dutch courts on Friday from continuing to donate his semen to clinics. Meijje, a musician, also required to ask clinics in other countries to destroy any of the semen they may still have, excluding samples previously reserved by patients who've already conceived children via him. I suppose that is a thing, isn't it? You don't know necessarily your dad is, because it was someone in a room on their own. So then, you know, years down the line, you meet someone who you like, and you end up having kids, and the babies come out with 3 heads and 16 legs. So yeah, I suppose it kind of makes sense. Lawyers for singer Ed Sheeran argue against jury deliberation, say judge should toss copyright suit. Lawyers for Ed Sheeran say claims in a copyright suit against the singer haven't been proven, and that a judge should toss the case out rather than have a jury decide. A trial in Manhattan Federal Court got underway this week in a lawsuit accusing the 32-year-old British musician of stealing parts of Marvin Gaye's iconic song Let's Get It On. That's the last time I'll do that, because I don't think we're mentioning Ed Sheeran again. You'll be pleased to hear. Not this week anyway. Sorry, working and all. Oh yeah, of course you did. But didn't it start in China? Smiley Mac, I'm going to ring up Minnesota and put you on the naughty list. Florida woman shot dead. No. A Florida woman shot dead parrot with a Glock during a drunken fight with her husband. A middle-aged Florida woman has been accused of gunning down her parrot during a drunken fight with her husband. Cops busted her in her Largo home on Sunday and say she and her 66-year-old husband were both intoxicated. Police records show that she shot and killed her African grey bird using a .380 Glock inside their home. I mean, that's the thing of comedy shows, isn't it? Where, you know, there's I'm sure they've done it on comedy shows where there's been, you know, one of the people pretending to be a sniper or whatever, and they miss because they sneeze or whatever, and then in the room in the background you see a budgie or something on a cage just poof into feathers and all that kind of thing. But yeah, apparently it's happened in real life, only it wasn't a little bullet, it was a Glock. I mean, it could be dangerous, that, you know. Exorcist reveals signs of demonic possession. A Catholic priest and the designated exorcist for the Archdiocese of Indianapolis. I mean, they've got a designated exorcist. I mean, God doesn't exist, therefore by the series of... the devil doesn't exist either. It's people with mental health issues. You shouldn't treat them like freaks. You should treat them with the stuff that's going to help them. Anyway, he's witnessed people foaming at the mouth, growling and snarling during one of many exorcisms throughout his career. Exorcism is an ancient rite in the Catholic Church that, at its core, is a prayer directed to God or directed against demons. That prayer has the power of commanding a demon to depart the body of a human based on nothing, because it's absolute BS. Sorry, I do apologise, but it just annoys me that, you know, people who obviously need help get sent these loons coming round pouring water on them and spouting a lot of crap that will terrify them even more. I'd be foaming at the mouth if that happened to me. I mean, I've seen the Exorcist movie as well, and yeah, you know, it's true. He didn't say about levitating on the floor and their head spinning around 360 degrees though, did he? So he hasn't really seen anyone possessed. Kremlin say goal achieved in deadly Ukraine missile strikes that leaves at least 22 dead. Well, you've got to say it for the Kremlin. They just don't know when to quit, do they? They just don't know when to shut up and be quiet. The Kremlin celebrated bringing fresh hell to Ukraine on Friday with a wave of early morning missile strikes that killed at least 22 civilians, including 4 young kids. The strike has achieved its goal, Defence Ministry Lieutenant General Igor Konishnikov crowed for the first large-scale cruise missile bombardment in nearly 2 months. All the designated facilities have been hit, the Kremlin official said. Yes, and that included domestic houses, domestic apartments. That is war crimes, and you're happy about this? Oh God. ASPCA gives 2% of budget to pet shelters while hoarding millions in a think tank. One of the country's most prominent animal welfare groups is sitting on hundreds of millions of dollars, including millions in offshore Caribbean accounts, See, it's American, so I said Caribbean, not Caribbean, which is the correct pronunciation. And doling out six-figure salaries to employees while giving just 2% of its budget to pet shelters, according to an explosive new report. This is one reason why I don't like charities. It's very rare, particularly big charities, that you'll see whoever the top people are in the big charities driving round in a clapped out banger car. No, they've all got Porsches and BMWs and Audis and all that kind of stuff, and they're all paid millions and millions. I think if you work for a charity, you should work for free, because the money is meant to go to the people, or in this case the animals in need, and not the fat cats at the top. A new $465 million American Museum of Natural History is crawling with bugs. I mean, technically you could have them as an exhibit, I suppose, a living exhibit. You know, this is what used to live in rainforests until we destroyed them all to build places like this. The American Museum of Natural History is bugging out. The Big Apple Institution will open its long-awaited Richard Gilder Centre for Science Education and Innovations to the public on Thursday, and the $465 million space is literally crawling with insects, in a good way. On a recent sneak peek tour, the Post stepped into a cavernous auditorium in the 230,000 square foot centre designed by architects Jenny Langs. So yeah, they are actually part of the exhibits. They're not just like cockroaches that have broke in. Not that cockroaches actually break in, because they haven't got the ability to do that. New York City parking garage collapse worth $100 million in damages. Two Manhattans who stored their pricey rides at the Doom Financial District parking garage have filed a $100 million class action lawsuit over the loss of their cars. Robert Galpern, the landlord of nearby Fulton Street building, had parked his customised £60,000 Toyota Highlander at the garage before it was destroyed. He paid for it, he bought it, and it is now not there anymore. That is there, it's just flat. But yeah, he's filing $100 million in damages. I'm like, no, you're just taking the mickey now. What you should do is just get your car back, or get the money to buy another car that's similar, or buy a car and do it up so it's the same. Not $100 million. 5 dead in Texas shooting as armed suspect with AR-15 is on the loose. This is breaking news. In America, last I heard, this was still an active shooting situation. 5 people, including an 8-year-old, were shot dead with an AR-15 style rifle at Southeast Texas home by an alleged drunk man. The incident occurred shortly after 11:31 when officials from San Jacinto County Sheriff's Office received a call about a harassment incident in Cleveland, Texas. There it is, drunk AR-15 guy. I told you, I don't miss these things, Jay Morris. It's the last thing that I saw, and 8-year-old. I mean, yeah, more guns isn't going to make this better. But how do you get less guns safely? It's a rock and a hard place, isn't it? Anyway, that ends the news for Australia. Got a sport? No, it doesn't. That ends the news for America. We're now starting the news for Australia. Got a sport? How are you doing today? I'm doing great, thanks. How are you doing? I'm doing great too. Not many this week. This one's a bit weird, so just bear with us. Boof, there we go. Sex work to be decriminalised in Queensland. Attorney General Shannon Fentonman says the government intends to regulate the industry. Basically, they realise that they can make money from this, so they are going to do. The Queensland government is set to decriminalise and regulate sex work under sweeping new changes to the industry. It comes in response to a Queensland Law Reform Commission a review that is understood to have made 47 recommendations. Okay, no worries, Smiley Mike. You take care. All the best. Thanks again for joining in the chat. We're nearly at the end now, to be fair. We've got about 10 minutes left. But yeah, you take care. Can you guess who it is yet? I didn't realise that there was. Oh, where is it? There it is. I didn't realise that there was a finger sticking out, which is a bit unfortunate. But yeah, this is obviously, and you'll be kicking yourself for not realising, it's a tribute to Pele, the famous footballer who passed away fairly recently. It was a giant thing that had a go at playing football. I've seen the video and it is bizarre. I mean, that's still shot. I didn't realise that still shows. Well, it used to advertise Viagra, so it kind of makes sense. Oh dear God. Cost of prescription medication to be halved. Patients could save up to $180 a year, which is good news. The major reform will allow patients to double the amount of medicine they can collect in a single script, effectively halving the cost of 320 common products. However, the pharmacists have opposed the move, saying that the change does little to address a major shortage in medicines. Well, to be fair, if you're letting people take the double the amount, it's going to increase the shortages because you're going to get people who get it just because they think they're entitled to it. Anyway, a coffee giant sues Australian brand over a glass jar. This multi-billion-dollar company launched a court battle in February. The coffee giant behind Monaca is suing an independent Aussie brand for selling similar glass jars. The 22.4 billion company says Victoria's instant coffee glass jars are deceiving and misleading as customers may mistake it for Monaco. Now, I'm not a coffee drinker, but I can tell the labels are different. I can also tell the lids are different as well. I think someone's just being an idiot. Like this guy. Aussie jailed in Indonesia over drunken and naked rampage. A Queensland's 23-year-old has been arrested and accused of a drunken and naked rampage in the ultra-conservative province of Aceh in Indonesia. The rampage took place while he was visiting the surf island of Simuli when furious locals were forced to perform a citizen's arrest on him. Yeah, I get it if you do it somewhere. That's why I said earlier on I'd only do it somewhere legal. But he's a young lad. Why not? Enjoy yourself while you can before you end up looking like me. Hey. And that was it for Australia. Like I say, not a lot really this week going on in Australia. So we end up with a very few funnies as well, literally. This is a super fast one. So what's funny this week? Oh, yeah, not her. It's E.T., obviously. According to reports, alien life is more likely to be Terminator-style robots than E.T. Seth Shawaska believes humans should be looking for other Mercuries instead of other Earths to find AI aliens, but has also been said that no biological creature would live long enough to get to Earth, which is also factual because we can't live long enough to get to anywhere else. But it also brings into state, because it's got E.T. there, what has been said about the E.T. movie and how it's been severely edited and modified to protect people from being upset by it, because people have got guns and stuff. Brits set to sizzle in coronation scorcher as 4 heat waves hit the UK in May. Some lovers across the country can look forward to rising temperatures throughout the next month, with the Met Office reporting very warm air isn't far away ahead of King Charles's coronation. So maybe having him as king might improve the weather. Now this is a notice that's been put up on a social website. Are you missing underwear? We have discovered that our cat has stolen a large amount of men's underpants and socks from a neighbour. We live on George Street. If it's you, we are very sorry. We have them here and we can return them. You'll be pleased to know we are moving. please call or text on blah 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 blah. Yeah, and you're thinking, well, can't be that many. Can be. Here is the picture of the cats with their haul of underwear and socks. I mean, that is ridiculous. A thieving cat? Never heard of it. Have you ever been to a toilet and wondered how people get poo everywhere? Well, here you go. How people use gas station bathrooms. You can put that for any cubicle, really. And yeah, that's pretty much what you can find in particularly travel area toilets, i.e. bus stations, railway stations, things like that. You go in there and there's just literally crap everywhere. King Charles' coronation may be the shortest in British history, expert claims. Woohoo! Get in. King Charles's coronation could be the shortest in history, according to an expert who believes the event will be slimmed down, cut short and pushed out to reflect the contemporary world. It may also be one of the shortest reigns of a king as well, because let's be honest, he's no spring chicken himself, is he? And finally, Uri Geller is to penetrate sacred part of Charles's coronation with inner mind. King Charles's coronation could be meddled with by spoon-bending sensation Uri Geller, who was promised to penetrate the May the 6th occasion using his inner mind to wreak havoc on an ancient spoon. Talking of an ancient spoon, there's a picture of Uri Geller. See what I did there? Oh man, it's just bizarre. Anyway, that is it for this week. 1 hour 40. We finished before 10 o'clock. But yeah, it's been a quiet week. To be fair, I've been busy doing other stuff as well, so I may not have written everything down that's happened in the news. But a big shout out to Flying Scotsman Returns, Smiley Mac, recently departed, Rongan, Sean Gallagher, who was that? No, Flying Scotsman, Jay Morris, Marty Hopkirk, J.M. Morris, I think we already said actually. We had someone else. We had JT as well at some point. I missed JT. Yep, missed JT. And that's it for this episode. So thank you very much for watching and or listening. And I'll all being well, be back again next week. With Gridrunner Shack. Hello, and goodbye. Hope you're good. Yeah, we'll be back again next week with another, what a week that was, and who knows, I might be a counsellor by next week. Anyway, until then, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again next time. Until then, bye.